the hangover is going to be real tomorrow, let me just tell you.
Hello, I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine, here on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Ravelry, and pretty much everywhere else on the interwebs. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the sewing, all the making, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down this week. And 2 episodes in a week, my friends. Wow, who am I? Well, if you've been following along with the podcast, last week I didn't get a chance to publish because I just had to get all my ducks in a row before I headed out to the New England Fiber Fest, which I will be covering at the end of the episode in the blather segment. I'll do a little recap. I also took some vlog footage, so you'll get to see a bit of that there as well. But yeah, it was just such a fun time, and yeah, my heart is full, and I have quite the haul to share with you, so I hope you guys are down for that. But again, thank you so much for your patience in waiting for that episode to come out. It was actually not the normal format of the podcast because I was celebrating Voolenvine Yarns, my hand-dyed yarn company, celebrated 5 years. It's been 5 years since I started dyeing yarn full-time as my sole career business. And yeah, I did a giveaway and answered some of the questions that you left for me in the episode before that. So again, thank you so much to everyone for all the congratulations, all your questions, and you know, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I had a lot of fun answering all of your questions, so cannot wait to do it again. Yeah, so I'm trying to think what other announcements. We have our knit-alongs that are happening over in the Voolenvine Ravelry group. We have the Box of Socks knit-along. We have the Year the Garment make-along. Those are year-long make-alongs, so you still have time to join in. Hop on over to the Ravelry group to get all the information about that. But as the name suggests, Box of Socks, knit 12 pairs of socks by the end of the year, January 1st, 2020. Year of the Garment, knit as many or as little garments as you want by, again, end of the year, January 1st, 2020. They're all very super casual make-alongs in which I'll be offering giveaways. But just a heads up, this is the last year that I'll be hosting the Box of Socks, only because my sock knitting mojo, you know, I still knit socks, but not as much as I used to in the past, and I just feel like I have not been giving my all to that that make-along thread. So I still will be keeping that thread open for those who are still enthusiastic about the make-along, of course, and want to keep the make-along going, and just general community that's built up around that knit-along. So, you know, I have been receiving requests and questions about that, so just to give you guys a heads up. And then we have our Practical, another make-along that ends March 1st, 2020, so it's a 6-month make-along, but that entails pretty much making anything, be it knitting, sewing, weaving, spinning, anything practical for your wardrobe, something that you're going to want to reach for on a regular basis that goes with a lot of stuff in your wardrobe already. And yeah, so far I'm loving everything that I'm seeing in these threads, guys. It's just, again, always so much inspiration happening in there. Definitely check it out, and hopefully you'll be inspired to join along. So, all right, I am going to get into what I've been making this week. And speaking of sponsors, just a quick word from my lovely and amazing sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more, even sewing and the fiber arts. I love learning new things when it comes to knitting, sewing, photography, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down. And because I know you love learning new things too, I partnered up with Skillshare, and they are offering my viewers 2 months free to try their platform. So give Skillshare a go and learn something new. Just click on the link in the description box below, entering the code at checkout, and enjoy. And thanks, Skillshare. And welcome back. All right, so as I mentioned, I went to the New England Fiber Fest this past weekend, and when one travels, knowing myself, you know, generally I like to pack a lot of projects because variety, you know, let's face it, is the spice of life. However, in the past, knowing myself, generally the only thing I ever work on when I travel are a pair of socks. So obviously I cast on a pair of socks because, you know, when you're chatting with people and everything, that's the only thing I can knit on and focus on conversation at the same time. And I also brought along my Pop Twizzle cowl that I cast on by Leslie Ann Robinson. did not put a dent in that whatsoever. I did work on it a little bit when I got home, but nothing worth sharing on the podcast this week. Hopefully I'll have some more to share with you next week. But I do have a hoe. I do have a hoe because that's all I worked on while I was there. And I even amazed myself because I can't remember the last time I banged out a pair of socks this quickly. But here's one. I had cast it on before I left. I was here. And by the time I returned home from the trip, I was here. So yeah, I got a lot of sock knitting done while I was there. And again, this is Lambstrings. I don't even think I mentioned the dyer. Lambstrings yarn. She's one of my favorite indie yarn dyers. If you haven't heard of her, you should totally check her out. But she dyes, like, I love her aesthetic. It's right up my alley. It's all just very goth, you know, dark themed colorways. And I purchased this. This was her holiday sock kit that she came out with last year. It was a surprise. You had no idea what it was going to look like. But she had two versions. One was like a traditional vintage Santa Claus colorway, and the other one was kind of like this kind of darker, macabre take on Christmas called Krampus. So here is her label, and this is her Tralala sock. So it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 4-ply fingering, and it came with 2 mini skeins, and I'm using the mini skeins as a cuff and heel. So for this sock, I did a red cuff, red toe, and black heel, and then on this sock, I'm doing the opposite. I'm doing a black cuff, red heel, and black toe, and I am getting... yeah, I'm just plowing through it. The one thing I will say about 4-ply fingering weight bases, as you know, my go-to sock knitting needle are Hiya Sharps, and they have kind of quite a sharp point. And I noticed when knitting with 4-ply yarn, the sharp point has a tendency to want to go through the ply a little bit. So I don't know. I think I've been getting through it, so it hasn't been that much of a problem for me. But in the future, if I do knit with a 4-ply sock fingering weight yarn, I'm gonna go for a needle with a more blunter tip, just so it doesn't pierce through those ply strands, if that makes sense. But otherwise, loving the way these are knitting up. These are gonna be my Christmas socks for this year. And yeah, I'm really thoroughly enjoying these. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else I want to say. These are just basic, plain vanilla socks. I'm doing a Fish Lips Kiss heel. Those have been my go-to heels as of late, I should say, 1x1, ribbing, and the like. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about this project. Yeah, so that is pretty much all I've been working on. I should probably talk about what I'm wearing. This is... I knit the sweater. This is the Belmont cardigan by, oh goodness. Is it by Gudrun Johnston? Yeah, it is by the Shetland trader, Gudrun Johnston. Love this sweater to death. However, it is not without its flaws. So again, beautiful knit. Enjoyed knitting every stitch of it. The yarn is easily one of my favorite woolly yarns to work with. It is Tuku fingering in the Uyo colorway, I want to say. And I purchased this at EYF, I believe 2 years ago. So I will stand up so you can see. The one gripe that I have about this pattern is that I knit it too short. It's a little too cropped for my liking, and it has a tendency to want to ride up in the back a little bit when I wear it. But, you know, with gathered skirts and everything, I think it's a winner. So, you know, I'm glad. I was tempted to rip it out just because it was riding up on me like this, but honestly, I can make it work. So yeah, and the buttons, let me see if I can get close. These were gifted to me by a lovely viewer at EYF. I'm totally blanking on your name. I'm so sorry, but I will link to her shop in the show notes in the description box below. But these are totally go hand in hand with the sweater. They're mauve, they're metallic, kind of like this mauve-ish metallic mother of pearl material. And I love it. So yeah, that is my Belmont cardigan. And I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, that's what I'm wearing. I believe this is going to be a very light episode because, again, I was traveling this weekend and didn't get much other knitting done. And even sewing. I have to admit, sewing, I've been in a little bit of a sewing slump. Not much sewing has been done. I don't know what it is. I just haven't been inspired to make anything lately sewing wise. Though I think this weekend I might actually start tackling my Ruana coat that I have been planning to make. The weather is getting chilly. It's hit the low 40s, so I think it's definitely coat wearing season. So I think the Rumana has to happen at some point this weekend. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But without further ado, I have some yarny goodness to share with you. I guess we will start with webs. So again, Tanya and I drove up Friday night. No, wait, when did we drive up? Yes, we drove. Sorry, I'm like blanking. It all happened so quickly. It's all a blur. But anyway, we drove up Friday morning. I took Friday off, and we drove up, made a pit stop at Webb's in Massachusetts, and I have a haul. Webb's, if you're not familiar, they're yarn.com, America's yarn store, and they definitely earned that title because, oh my goodness, you guys, you walk in and you're just like, oh my gosh, they have everything here. But wait, there's more. You go to the back and there's just this whole warehouse of just yarn, miles and miles of yarn. And I'm sure the lady working there, she's like, that's what everybody says. And me and Tanya are just like, oh my goodness. I swear, we got so drunk on yarn and fiber fumes in there. Yeah. I did some vlogging, so fret not. More to come on that at the end of the episode. But I have this bag, and then I also have this. I saw this, and I was like, it just has to come home with me. The thing I will say about Webb's, it's not, if you're looking for indie dyed yarn, they have a little bit of it, but it's more on the commercial side of things. They have a lot of Madeline Tosh. They have Malabrigo, you know, a lot of the big kind of, you know, indie dyed. I don't even think you can call it indie dyed anymore because some of them, you know, like Madeline Tosh is a big hand dyed yarn company now. They were actually purchased by Jimmy Bean's Wool, fun fact, recently. So there's that. They have a lot of the Fiber Company yarn, which I absolutely love. Again, Malabrigo. They have Rowan. They have Freya. It's endless. So and they even have their own in-house. Valley Yarns is like their in-house yarn company, or yarn brand, I should say. But I got a whole sweater quantities worth of this yarn here, which I saw and fell immediately in love with. This is by Sublime Yarns, the luxury brand. It's by Sirdar, which I've never worked with before, believe it or not. But it's their Willow base, and it is, let me see, 94% merino wool and 6% nylon. But there's so much depth and dimension to this yarn. It's obviously like a peachy mauve, but there's some tweeds in it. It's very tweedy with some subtle pops of like hot pink in there and black, little nips, and it's just so soft and so squidgy. Definitely going to become a sweater of some kind. I believe this is worsted weight. This could very easily become a Felix pullover by, I'm totally blanking on the designer. Come on, Kristen. Think. I'll pop it in the down bar, but Caroline from Dendernit brought this pattern to my attention, and I think this is what it's going to become. So there's that, and then let me see. I also picked up these more mauve, light mauve, I should say. It's like a dusty lavender mauve, and again, this is Webb's in-house yarn. It's called Valley Yarns. Their Wendell base. It's 100% Bolivian merino wool, and yeah, I believe it's also worsted weight. So this, I think, is going to be a pet project of mine. I don't know exactly what, I'm probably, some of you were asking me if I have a sweater pattern coming down the pike. Possibly, because as soon as I saw this paired with this yarn, I don't know how well that's going to show up, but oh my goodness. It's just like this black and deep burgundy, thick and thin plied yarn with copper stellina in it. I am so in love with this, but paired with this, oh my gosh, you guys. I think this has to become something. But this yarn is also by Sirdar. It's their Elemental, super chunky. And it's 72% acrylic, 15% wool, 9% alpaca, 3% polyester, and 1% nylon. So lots happening in here. And I know it's not, you know, always wise to mix different yarn bases together, but I think if I'm just going to hand wash it, I know Tannei was telling me if you are going to be mixing different fiber contents together, you just have to be careful about how you're going to wash it and treat it, you know, when how you treat it when you wash it. So obviously if this were to become a sweater, you know, with some color work happening, who knows, you know, I would obviously hand wash it. So there is that. And color wise, let me see, I don't think these, it's the type of yarn, a lot of it's color number 11 for this. And then this colorway is color number 300. Make of that what you will. I'll pop all of this information in the down bar. But yeah, you'll find a lot of those yarns at Webs. So just a heads up. And then I think this is the last thing I purchased from Webs, but to my shock and surprise, I was drawn to some Noro yarns. Now, I've never purchased Noro yarns before. I've never worked with Noro yarns before, but these colors just spoke to me. So I picked up 2 of these. And I believe this is their Bedrock color on their Taiyo base. And it's an Aran weight wool, and it's an Aran weight yarn, and it has 40% cotton, 30% silk, 15% wool, and 15% polyamide. And there was a pattern hanging there that I fell head over heels in love with, and that kind of sold me on the whole Noro purchase. But again, I did not purchase enough yarn. I just kind of on a whim, again, drunk on fiber fumes, purchased 2 of these skeins when really I needed 4 of these skeins plus 2 extra skeins of a solid color. But that was the, blanking on the name, but I will pop it in the sidebar so you can see what I'm talking about. Just a beautiful mitered, I believe it's, the construction is like a mitered construction, but it looks like quilt patchwork, but it's just a beautiful, simple throw that I just fell in love with, and I think I'll have to purchase more of this yarn so I can actually make it happen. But yeah, there's obviously black, some grays, some mauve, some hints of teal, and some bright yellow in there, but it just made my heart sing. So that is what I purchased from Webs. I was pretty restrained. Somehow I thought there was more. I guess I was wrong. I saved the craziness for New England Fiber Fest. So let's chat about that, shall we? Let me see. Well, first I will chat about this purchase. This came while I was away. I was, again, to bring up Caroline. Hello, Caroline Dunderknit. She has been waxing poetic about Tannei Casey's project bags for eons, and then when I got together with Caroline, I saw her Tannei Casey tote bag in person, and I fell absolutely in love with everything about her work. So I hopped on Etsy and purchased one myself in the print, and I love this so much, you guys. It is huge, perfect for a sweater. It is so well made. It has a handle. I love these types of handles, guys. Waxed canvas bottom, and then you open it on the inside. I actually have a pair of socks in here, which I've been meaning to get around to finishing, but you know, whatever. And there are pockets in here too, so you can pop a pattern, notions, you name it, all in here. It's awesome. I love it. So definitely check out her stuff. I hear she was at Rhinebeck as well, and her booth was mobbed. So yeah, I highly recommend her product. So that was another thing that came in the mail while I was away. All right, New England Fiber Fest. Let's chat. Okay, so the whole reason for me really going there was to spend time with Tanya and Gabby, who was vending at NEFF, and her booth, you guys. Gabby, you really outdid yourself. It was just so beautiful, the way she had everything set up. Yeah, it was just, she put so much work and effort into it, and her colorways, oh my god, yeah, I had a hard time choosing. But here's my tote bag. Let me see. Yeah, the tote is really cute. Yeah, so had to get one. So if you're new to Rhinebeck and need recommendations for booths to hit up, I always recommend Foxhill Farm. They have the yummiest, squidgiest Cormo you will ever squish in your life. And I went there without my previous purchases from previous years, and the idea was I was going to go there and pick up an extra skein so I can complete my collection of skeins that I happen to be picking up every year, because the first year I bought 2 skeins and I thought that would be enough to knit a sweater. What turns out that wasn't the case, so I went back the following year, purchased another skein of the same yarn, same base and everything to knit the Magnolia, and turns out that wasn't enough, so I was like, all right, you know, I'm just gonna get one more skein, have enough to knit the Magnolia, pull over, and again, I was pretty sure this was the yarn. Came home, compared it to my other skeins, and I was so wrong. So yeah, when I came home, these are the 3 skeins that I've amassed over the past 3 years. So, and this is the one that I picked up at NEFF. So clearly there's an issue. But you know, hey, an extra skein of Foxhill yarn, I am not complaining. It just gives me an excuse to go back to Rhinebeck and get another skein next year. Or, you know, try and make these 3 skeins work, because there is a lot of yardage in these. There's about approximately 394 skeins in each. So I think that's enough for me to bang out a sweater, but given that the Magnolia has some bobblage involved and some lace, I might run out. I could always email them, whatever. Just my personal brand of crazy, but you know, this will grow up to become something wonderful, I'm sure. In the past, I've kind of, not forbid myself, but told myself I'm not allowed to come away with fiber, but since I got my electric eel wheel nano, I've just fallen back in love with spinning. So I did allow myself to purchase some fiber there. So I picked up these little tidbits. It was kind of like a grab bag of sorts. You got to pick different colors, and I think they charge like $5 per ounce. And so I just picked a couple of colorways out, and the idea about what I have planned for these is just to hand card these and create some poonies for myself to spin up, and just have fun with playing with color. But there's some greens in here. Yeah, and these are just raw fibers all together, but yeah, so they, you know, require some hand picking and then carding to make them really soft. This one I kind of processed a little bit. These are my hand carders that I have that have been languishing in my spinning box, my spinning storage bin. But yeah, you basically just throw the fiber on here and comb it out, and Bob's your uncle. Yeah, so there's that. And then what else? I also, while I was at the Foxhill fiber booth, I picked up some of their fiber, Cormo fiber, and you guys, it is absolutely luscious and yummy, and I mean, come on, you guys. It's purple, gray, and everything nice. And my mother-in-law, my in-laws were actually there, so it was great to see them. Hi, Ron. Hi, Carol, if you're watching. But she gave me a heads up about spinning with Cormo. She's like, if you're familiar with spinning with merino, it's a little bit more slippery than that. So just, you know, bear that in mind, and, you know, obviously like practice before I really dive full on into spinning with it. So thank you for that heads up. I will definitely keep that in mind. Picked up some soaps. There was a soap booth there, Flatbrook Farm handcrafted soaps, and they had some of the best smells. And I bought one for Dennis, and I bought 2 for myself because I love soaps and smells and all those things. So one was called Sugar Plum Fairy, and the other one, Dragon's Blood. So. And I love how they put photos of the sheep or the goats that the ingredients come from. So yeah, they're all natural ingredients. You know, saponified oils, pure olive oil, palm oil, coconut oil, fresh goat milk, fragrance that contains no preservatives. Yeah, so really, really wonderful smells. I'll, of course, link to them in the show notes below. Yeah, and the people that were running the booth are absolutely lovely, so definitely check them out if you can. Oh yeah, Once Upon a Corgi. Yeah. So these colorways just screamed my name. I could not resist coming back with these 2 skeins. No idea what they're going to be, but together, these are both her Hearth colorway. This is on her Marie Cutie base, which is 75% superwash Corriedale, 25% nylon. it is the best, you guys. And then this is her fig lace, which is 70% kid mohair, 30% silk, and lace weight. So love this colorway combination. Absolutely love it, love it, love it. It's awesome. And then last but not least, I stopped off at the bead booth because one cannot have too many beads. If you follow the podcast, you know I love knitting with beads. So I got some of these really, really beautiful, this is they're called Bead Biz. And they were doing a collaboration with Seven Ravens yarn, which also had really lovely yarn. But yeah, just a strand of beads. Just like a black mercury silver colorway. So they had beads galore in every single color you can think of. I think they're usually at a lot of fiber festivals, at least here on the East Coast. So definitely check them out if you are in the vicinity. And I think they might sell online. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, links below. And that is my haul. That is my haul, my friends. I was relatively restrained. I did not, while I enjoyed, you know, buying all the yarn at EYF, I did not want to repeat that scenario. That was a little gluttonous. No excuses, and I'm not apologizing because I love everything that I purchased from EYF, but getting that home, the struggle was real. Yeah, but anyway, I feel like I was relatively restrained, only purchased what I felt like I needed or, you know, would really work with my wardrobe. So pat myself on the back about that. So I believe that is all the creative content that I have for the episode. Again, my sewing mojo has kind of been in the dumps a little bit these past few days, but hopefully I will remedy that over the weekend and have some more to share with you next week when I record. And I am going to be having a shop update tomorrow, November 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, thank you so much for your patience. Last week, an update didn't happen because I was, you know, getting ready to travel and it just wasn't in the cards. But I should have a bumper update for you tomorrow. And, you know, stuff that I dyed last week will obviously go into tomorrow's update or today's update whenever you're watching. And again, you can always sign up for my newsletter to find out what colorways and bases to expect in each update. So you can do that by going over to my website, voolenvineyarns.com, clicking on the newsletter link and entering your info. And every day I will send out a newsletter for your reading pleasure. Yeah, there's some other fun stuff in there about like what people are making with Voolenvine yarns. Again, I love, love, love seeing your finished objects and stuff that you make with Voolenvine yarns. I always try to showcase them in the newsletter, you know, and just kind of give others inspiration as to what you can make with my yarns. So there's that. And yes, so hope you guys can make it. And without further ado, I'm going to get into the blather segment and kind of give you a little recap about the New England Fiber Fest. So yeah, what can I say? What else can I say? Yeah, Tanya, who is my friend, she also has the Knitting Spring podcast. She hasn't been recording lately, but you know, she's still very active in the knitting community and we've been in touch and everything. So she's definitely a dear friend of mine and we had the best time. So we left early Friday morning from Manhattan and then drove up. I think it was about a 3.5-hour drive to get there, and you know, went to Webb's, got drunk on yarn fumes, and you know, it was just so much fun, guys. So after our Webb's extravaganza, which you know, I talked at length about in the episode, first we checked into our bed and breakfast, which, you guys, this place was so adorable. It was like this little, not little, but you know, Victorian style bed and breakfast, and you know, we got breakfast in the morning and the view is absolutely beautiful. There was a waterfall in the backyard, which was really nice to fall asleep to. It was kind of like white noise that just kind of like lulled you to sleep. So we checked in and then we met up with Gabby from Once Upon a Corgi for dinner. We found this really awesome German restaurant called Munich House, spelled H-A-U-S. And, you know, we met up there with her and her fiance, Jake, and the food was absolutely amazing. We had the best waiter. His name was Tony. Big guy, wearing full-on lederhosen, curly Q mustache, and just an overall friendly waiter. Yeah, we did that. And then I had actually made reservations for both nights because we, you know, it was still kind of up in the air about, you know, what days we'd be able to get together for dinner. and what our plans were, but we ended up going back the next night because it was that good. And we went with Nina from This Old Knit. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, we had dinner, went back, crashed. We were so tired, and then woke up early and headed out to the New England Fiber Fest. I think it was like about a 15-hour drive from our hotel. I mean, overall, you can't really compare New England Fiber Festival to Rhinebeck. I mean, Rhinebeck is massive. It's endless. There's just barns upon barns upon barns. It's outside. There's livestock. There's sheep. There's, bunnies. And this was probably about 25% of the size of Rhinebeck. It was indoors, it was definitely more intimate, more chill, less vendors, more local vendors. Again, New England. Yeah, again, it just, it was smaller, but it just felt, so big. There was so much territory to cover. And again, I met up with my in-laws, so it was great to see them. Unfortunately, Dennis couldn't make it, but it was great to catch up with my in-laws and hang out with them for a little bit. And they actually brought me some really nice yarn from if you watch the podcast, I go up to Cape Cod for summer a lot, and they're up there all the time for the summer, and they went to Provincetown to P-Town Pearl, a yarn shop that I've mentioned on the podcast before, and always recommend if you're in the area, definitely stop by P-Town Pearl. It's run by the most wonderful shop owner, Brian. Great personality. I always look forward to, when we do make it up there, I love stopping in and saying hello. And it unfortunately hasn't been for a while, but they managed to get there and brought me back some yarn. And Molly Girl, it's by Molly Girl, but she dyed these colorways specifically for his yarn shop. And it's on her baseline colorway. It's called Water's Edge, which is basically all the colors of P-Town Pearl's logo, dyed onto one glorious skein. And this one's called Summer Breeze. So how pretty of a shawl would that make? I absolutely love it. So thank you. So yeah, they picked that up for me. And again, Molly Girl was actually vending at the New England Fiber Festival. So she was there too. Unfortunately, I didn't get to say hello to her. There was just so much happening and everything. But yeah, I got to hang out with Adrian, who's Freakish Lemon, Mama Gergs. I know that is not her name, but whenever Gabby mentions her on her podcast, it's Mama Gergs. Anyway, so I hope she doesn't mind me calling her that. And I got to meet so many wonderful podcast viewers. I'm so sorry I'm blanking on your name, on most of your names, but I know Shy came up and said hello to me, so hello, Shy. If you ever see me at a yarn festival, please do not hesitate to come up and say hello. I am not freaked out at all. In fact, I am just over the moon to meet anyone who watches the podcast. I just love seeing you guys and saying hello, and it just means the world to me that you enjoy my little spot on the interwebs. So again, never feel apprehensive about coming up to me and just saying hello. I will hug you. You're gonna get a hug. So anyway, but yeah, thank you so much to everybody who did say hello. It was so wonderful getting to chat with you. And again, it was just so much more. It was such an intimate space that I didn't feel, I can't describe it, but I felt like I could give my 100% attention to whoever I was speaking with, and not too many people everywhere. And it was just such a wonderful experience. If you ever have the opportunity to check out NEFF, definitely check it out. And I'm trying to think what else. So yeah, we shut the place down. At closing. Tanya and I, we were going to meet up with Gabby later. We ran into, obviously, again, Nina from the This Old Knit podcast. We just all tagged along together, just went from booth to booth. And by the end, we all just said, all right, we're going to go, hang out at the hotel, knit a little bit, and then go out to dinner. So Tanya and I headed out to our car. We were literally like the only car in the parking lot. That's a hardcore festival goer for you, if there's any indication. So there was that, and then we just ended up back at Munich House. Had such a really fun time. I finished knitting my sock there, and it was just a really great time. And then the next day, we decided to, take our time in the morning, had a leisurely breakfast, Tanya and I, and then pack all our stuff back up in the car, and then, you know, the plan was we found out that there was a Christmas tree shop nearby, so that was on the list of things to go before we headed back to the city. So we went to Christmas tree shop. We also had the idea of maybe doing some antiquing, but, you know, by the time we were done with the Christmas tree shop, driving around, had some lunch at Whole Foods. We did make a pit stop in Sleepy Hollow, which, you guys, was so beautiful. I've driven through Sleepy Hollow several times. We went to a wedding in Sleepy Hollow, but going to like the church graveyard, that area, that historic site, you know, the whole Headless Horseman by Ichabod Crane. I had not been there since I was about maybe 7 years old. I don't remember anything about it, but just, you know, the sun was setting, overcast skies, just walking through a graveyard. It was so scenic and majestic. And I'm not one for walks, generally, like through nature. Nature walks in general are not my jam, but, you know, throw in a graveyard, cemetery, sign me up. It was absolutely beautiful. I loved reading all the headstones. Some of you online were asking me what was the oldest gravestone we saw. Truth be told, we didn't have, you know, we didn't spend that much time there. We just, you know, walked to the footbridge. You know, we followed the main trail, and then there was like a footbridge, got some photos, and walked back. The oldest grave that we did see, I think, was from like the 1860s. But just seeing all the intricate designs on all the headstones and everything was just so beautiful. I would definitely love to go back there again at some point, and definitely encourage you guys to check it out too if you're driving through. So yeah, and then we kind of called it on the antiquing. That was not happening. We were both pretty much wiped by that point. And then, of course, that was when the New York City Marathon was happening. So traffic getting back into Manhattan was a nightmare. But we made it. Yeah, it was overall just a really good time. And I think I've rambled on for quite some time. So I'm going to insert some footage here for you to enjoy. But until then, thank you as ever for hanging out with me, spending time chatting about all the fiber, all the things. And if you did enjoy this podcast vlog, please feel free to like and subscribe below. I put out an episode for you generally every Friday for your viewing pleasure. And until then, happy knitting, happy sewing, happy making, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey guys, I am in the car with my friend Tanya. Hello! We just made a pit stop to grab some lunch at Whole Foods. We are on our way to the New England Fiber Fest, which is happening tomorrow. But first, priorities, we are hitting up. Are you ready for it? We're going to Webb's. Webb's. Guys, I just found a knitted quilt that is absolutely stunning.
It's beautiful.
I love how it looks like quilt squares, and oh my god, I totally want to make that. 3 hours later. Has it been 3 hours?
Almost.
Almost 3 hours. We are assessing our potential damage. We're going through what we have in our baskets and deciding what we want, what we don't want.
So these are my purchases.
Yum. Look at that. Oh my god.
That.
Trendsetter Yarns Paradigm, I should say.
And this will probably get marled with one of these.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, one of those.
Shibui.
And then my all-time favorite.
That's my favorite too, I think. We made it! We're out. We're good. We survived. And now we need sustenance. We have to grab food. Hello! We made it to the New England Fiber Festival. It is about 10:30 in the morning. Got a little bit of a late start, but we are here. And there's a lot going on. There's a dog show, a horse show, and a Fiber Fest. So, busy day. Hi! What's your name?
We were still going strong.
Yes.
For the New England Fiber Festival.
Yeah.
I met up with Nina from This Old Knit and Tanya, who you met earlier. The hangover is going to be real tomorrow, let me just tell you.
It seriously is.
But look, we have llamas, everything, all the wolf.